When you're born to traditional immigrant parents, being a chef is not exactly the first career choice. You know, I have 20 generations of people on my shoulders saying, you're the firstborn in America, you can't squander your life. I wanted PB&Js and steaks and pasta. And I remember one day my grandmother said to me, she goes, if you want American food, cook it yourself.
Oh.
And so I took my allowance money, I went to the grocery, and I bought some stuff. And I just remember that feeling of accomplishment and that feeling of like, I just cooked my own dinner. We were a working class immigrant family. Both my parents worked really long hours, and my grandmother stayed home and cooked. That was my first memories of food. So little by little, I would gravitate towards the kitchen. And I must have been 8 or 9. I told my parents, I said, I'm going to be a chef.
안녕하세요, 스노우볼입니다. 지난 영상에 이어서 오늘도 에드워드 셰프의 영어를 준비해봤는데요. 만들다 보니까 영상 하나로 끝내기에는 너무 아쉬워서 이렇게 Part 1 그리고 Part 2 두 편으로 나누게 되었습니다. 이번 영상에서는 에드워드 셰프의 인생이 담긴 각종 인터뷰 영상들을 보면서 우여곡절 많았던 그의 인생 스토리도 함께 살펴볼 예정이고요. 그리고 뉴욕대 문학과를 우등 졸업하고 책도 3권이나 낸 작가이기도 한 에드워드 셰프의 주옥같은 영어 표현들까지 소개해 드리려고 하니까요. 끝까지 재미있게 시청해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 그럼 본격적으로 시작하기에 앞서서요. 앞선 인트로 영상에서 나왔던 영어 표현들 중에 2가지만 정리해보고 갈게요.
So little by little, I would gravitate towards the kitchen. And I must have been 8 or 9. I told my parents, I said, I'm going to be a chef.
먼저 소개해드릴 표현은 little by little입니다. 무언가를 진행해 나가는 과정에서 느리지만 꾸준히 변화하거나 발전하는 것을 강조할 때 원어민들이 자주 사용하는 표현인데요. 유사한 표현으로는 step by step, bit by bit, gradually 같은 것들이 있겠네요. 예를 하나 들어볼게요. 매일 연습을 하면 실력이 서서히 늘게 될 거야. 이걸 영어로 하면 If you practice every day, you'll improve little by little. 이런 식으로요. little by little를 문장 끝에 붙이셔도 되고요. 아니면 문장 도입부에도 사용을 할 수가 있고 또는 문장 어디에 넣어서 쓰셔도 무방합니다. 제가 이번 영상을 준비하면서 에드워드 셰프의 영어 인터뷰 영상들을 정말 많이 봤거든요. 근데 에드워드 셰프가 특히 이 표현을 자주 쓰시더라고요. 그래서 이렇게 한번 소개를 해드렸습니다.
And little by little. So little by little, it really happened over a long period of time.
You have to solve the problems little by little.
Word of mouth started to spread, and little by little, $5 here, $10 here, $15 there, I ended up raising $31,000.
And little by little, it was clear that California wine was pretty darn good.
I got jobs, and little by little, I just got better.
So little by little, I would gravitate towards the kitchen.
다음은 gravitate towards입니다. gravitate은 중력, gravity에서 파생된 단어고요. 물체가 중력에 의해 끌려 움직이는 것을 뜻합니다. 그리고 towards는 어느 쪽으로, 무엇을 향해 라는 뜻을 가진 전치사죠. 그래서 gravitate towards라고 하면 마치 중력이 작용하듯 어떤 특정 방향으로 끌리는 것을 비유적으로 표현한 건데요. 무언가에 자연스럽게 끌리는 것을 설명할 때 유용하게 사용되는 표현입니다. 예를 들어서 그녀는 유머러스한 사람에게 끌리는 경향이 있다. 이걸 영어로 하면 She tends to gravitate towards people who have a good sense of humor 라고 하면 되는데요. 이 표현도 원어민들이 일상에서 자주 쓰는 표현이니까요. 알아두시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
I do the things that I gravitate towards. Mostly it's like, I really get inspired by true stories.
Like, I gravitate towards you, you gravitate towards me. We literally hang out like every day.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Samsung fan. I love my Google Pixel. I love phones, I love technology, and I tend to gravitate towards Apple. I am a big iPhone fan.
So little by little, I would gravitate towards the kitchen. And I must have been 8 or 9. I told my parents, I said, I'm going to be a chef.
After graduating from NYU with honors and a degree in literature, he traveled to France, learning as much as he could.
I opened my first restaurant in New York City when I was 25 years old. I was born in Brooklyn. I have Korean parents. I had a restaurant in New York that was going very well. You know, I had thought I'd made it. Right? I was 25 and had a successful restaurant that I opened with myself with no investors in downtown Manhattan.
다음은 해내다, 성공하다는 뜻을 가진 made it입니다. 동사 make가 이루다, 성취하다는 의미로 사용되는데요. 어떤 목표나 꿈을 이뤄냈을 때 원어민들이 이 말 자주 하거든요. 이것도 알아두시면 좋을 것 같네요.
I remember it was a two-liner for a show called Nikita. It was my first speaking role, and I remember being like, I made it.
Oh my God, we made it in Hollywood. Look, Ma.
I was so excited and I was so happy that I thought, man, I think I made it as a pro wrestler.
Be in a video with Justin Timberlake, I think I was like, this is crazy, you know? Just a moment of like, wow, I made it. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, I had thought I'd made it. Right? I was 25 and had a successful restaurant that I opened with myself with no investors in downtown Manhattan. 9/11 happened and our restaurant was downtown. I had people that were in the towers and it was something that really affected me and I needed to clear my head. I sold the restaurant and I rented a car, drove to all the places that I'd never been to. I was on top of the world and I had a restaurant in New York City and all of a sudden I left New York City and all my friends and family and everything I had to go to Louisville, Kentucky.
다음 표현은 on top of the world입니다. on top of the world라는 제목의 유명한 곡도 있죠. on top of the world를 직역하면 세상의 꼭대기에 있다는 의미인데요. 세상의 꼭대기라고 하면 에베레스트일까요? 에베레스트 정상에 오를 수 있는 사람은 많지 않죠. 그러다 보니까 정말 이 의미로 쓰는 원어민은 거의 없다고 보시면 됩니다. 이런 분들을 제외하군요.
Next shot is one of my best buddies and myself on the summit of Mount Everest on top of the world. What's it like on top of the world? Cold.
조금 전 보신 생존 전문가 베어 그릴스 같은 분들을 제외하곤 일반적인 케이스에서는 on top of the world를 비유적인 의미로 사용합니다. 마치 세상의 정상에 올라 세상을 다 가진 것만 같은, 그래서 매우 기쁘고 만족스러운 상태를 나타낼 때 쓰는 표현이거든요. 그래서 I'm feeling on top of the world today 라고 하면 오늘 기분 째진다 라는 의미입니다. 이 표현도 자주 쓰이니까요. 알아두시면 좋을 것 같네요.
Congratulations, guys. How are you feeling right now?
On top of the world?
Like, I'm on top of the world right now.
To get an Olympic gold medal was a huge honor, a huge achievement for myself. I felt like I was on top of the world.
I was on top of the world and I had a restaurant in New York City and all of a sudden I left New York City and all my friends and family and everything I had to go to Louisville, Kentucky.
You're a first generation Korean American, correct? And you grew up in Brooklyn, right?
I grew up in Brooklyn, yeah. No one in my family, like I have no connection to the South. Like no one in my family's from here or anything. 17 years ago, I left New York City and all my friends and family and everything I had to go to a restaurant with no name, no reputation, in the middle of Louisville, Kentucky. I wound up here at a restaurant called 610 Magnolia. I worked there for a week.
다음은 woundup입니다. 감다, 돌리다는 뜻의 동사 wind를 과거형인 wound로 써서요. 돌고 돌아 결국 어떤 특정 상황에 도달했다는 의미인데요. 주로 예상하지 못했거나 계획하지 않았던 결과에 도달하는 상황을 나타낼 때 많이 사용되는 표현입니다. 에드워드 셰프는 이것저것을 떠돌다가 결국 610 매그놀리아라는 레스토랑에 정착하게 됐다는 말을 wound up을 써서 다음과 같이 표현했죠. I wound up here at a restaurant called 610 Magnolia. 그리고 단순히 어떤 장소에 예기치 못하게 도달했다는 의미 말고도요. 가령 일상 대화가 예기치 못한 주제로 흘러가 다른 주제에 이르게 된 상황을 묘사할 때도 wound up을 쓸 수 있거든요. 예를 들어 We started talking about work, but we wound up discussing life goals 라고 하면 처음엔 일 얘기를 하다가 나중 가서는 인생 목표에 대해 떠들게 되었다. 뭐 이런 말을 할 때도 wound up을 쓸 수 있습니다. 그러면 실생활 예시들 한번 살펴보고 올게요.
By the end of my 20s, I wound up as a member of the Barcelona Symphony Orchestra. in Spain. What a great life.
And then I wound up getting that job, which is bananas. That's insane.
Henry wound up at Stanford, where he decided to get an MBA.
I was getting very interested in space science as well. Again, it's the science fiction influence as a kid. And I wound up getting involved with the space community, really involved with NASA.
And then some startups of the time, including Google and Facebook Meta and Amazon, were startups that wound up doing really well.
I wound up here at a restaurant called 610 Magnolia. I worked there for a week, and the owner sat me down and said, "You're going to move to Kentucky, take over my restaurant, I'm going to retire, and you're going to be a big success." And I said, "You're crazy." The former owner called me every week and said, "When are you coming? When are you coming?" And I said, "No, no, no, no." And finally, I gave in.
다음은 give in입니다. 조금 전 예시에서는 과거형을 써서 gave in이라고 했는데 give in은 give up과 어떤 차이가 있을까요? 우선 give up은 우리가 알다시피 그냥 다 스스로 포기해버리는 걸 의미하죠. 반면에 give in이라고 하면요. 어떤 외부의 압력이나 설득에 의해서 굴복하거나 양보하는 뉘앙스가 있거든요. 그래서 이걸 우리말로 옮기면 항복하다, 굴복하다, 두 손 두 발 다 들다 이런 의미입니다. 그래서 이 차이도 알아두시면 좋을 것 같네요. 그럼 예시 보고 올게요.
I was just talking to Steve Carell, and he gave in to the deep dish pizza thing. Do you have
I gave in to the chocolate before I got here.
But they never gave in and they never gave up.
Adversity makes you stronger. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right.
Sometimes you gotta lose to win. Never give up, never give in.
We Americans will never give in to fear.
You don't give in to your emotions.
The former owner called me every week and said, "When are you coming? When are you coming?" And I said, "No, no, no, no." And finally, I gave in.
In 2018, Food and Wine named 610 Magnolia one of the country's most important restaurants of the past 40 years.
I had the freedom and reins to run this tiny restaurant all by myself with no help and no outside influences, and I could just do whatever I wanted.
I registered to go to culinary school. That night, I decided I'm going to go out with my friends. I was kind of workaholic. Turns out it's like wind down Wednesday at this local place that everyone went to. And I run into another friend who introduces me to Edward.
누군가와 우연히 마주쳤을 때 ran into라고 하거든요. 예를 들어서 I ran into a famous actor at Costco the other night 라고 하면요. 지난번에 코스코에 갔는데 유명한 배우를 우연히 마주쳤어 라는 의미입니다. 그래서 이렇게 우연히 누군가를 마주쳤을 땐 ran into를 쓴다는 것도 알아두시면 좋을 것 같네요.
I was in the financial district where I used to work, and I ran into one of the people that I used to work with.
I ran into Sean. We were at a store, and I said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He said, "Hey, how you doing?"
What would you say to her if you ran into her in New York?
Hi. Wow. Hello. It's so good. I don't know.
And I run into another friend who introduces me to Edward.
We started talking and we had some wine and
His pickup line was, "Why the hell are you going to culinary school?"
방금 픽업 라인이라고 재미있는 표현이 나왔는데요. 주로 마음에 드는 이성에게 관심을 표하고자 치는 작업 멘트를 뜻합니다. 그런데 요즘은 보니까요. 그냥 누군가에게 관심을 표현할 때 사용하는 첫 마디의 의미로도 쓰긴 하는 것 같더라고요. 그래도 이성에게 건네는 작업 멘트로 사용하는 경우가 압도적이다. 그렇게 알아두시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
This is your first chance to impress Colton. Give him your best pickup line.
Hi Colton, did you just fall from heaven or are you an angel? I don't know if that made any sense.
I like it, sweet.
What's the most memorable pickup line that you've ever received?
A guy once said to me, "Hey girl, we're the same height laying down." And he was 3 feet shorter.
And I was so nervous, and I was like, "Oh God, I think I'm gonna fall in love with her." And as I shook her hand, I went, "I like you." So if anybody's looking how to pick up a girl, that's the way you do it. You don't need any pickup lines, just be weird.
His pickup line was, "Why the hell are you going to culinary school?"
that was my in. I said, "Look, you don't have to take classes. I'll teach you everything you need to know." And she took me up on that offer, and that was the beginning of a beautiful marriage.
take someone up on something 이라는 표현이 나왔습니다. 누군가의 제안 혹은 약속을 수락하다는 의미인데요. 예를 들어서 너의 제안 내가 받아들일게 라고 할 때 I'll take you up on that offer 이렇게 말을 하거든요. 조금 생소해서 처음 들어보시는 분들도 계실 것 같은데요. 이것도 은근히 자주 쓰이거든요. 그래서 혹시 모르셨던 분들 계시다면 이번 기회에 알아두시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
I invited you back again, and you took me up on it, and you're back again. So thank you very much.
Of course.
I eagerly took him up on his offer.
Today, Donald Trump took him up on that challenge.
She took me up on it.
Philip is a fantastic scientist, absolutely brilliant scientist, and he took me up on this challenge.
You don't have to take classes. I'll teach you everything you need to know. And she took me up on that offer, and that was the beginning of a beautiful marriage. It's the one and only time that I really ever used my culinary education to pick up a girl. For the first 6 months, I had very few customers. There were nights when I had 4 or 5 people dining at my restaurant. You know, we seat 55, and I remember distinctly a night when I had 4 customers.
I can say firsthand that I witnessed one of the hardest work. Sorry, I choke up.
Really, you know, there were some very awful, depressing nights when she was the only bright thing that you know was in my world, and she would constantly be my best cheerleader and my support, and would tell me that you're gonna do it. And she saw something in me that I didn't necessarily even see in myself.
Okay. I witnessed firsthand someone who had the most crushing work ethic that I've ever seen in my life.
에드워드 셰프님도 그렇게 순탄치만은 않은 시절이 있으셨네요. 조금 전 에드워드 셰프의 아내분이 first hand라는 단어를 쓰셨는데 내가 직접 보고 느낀 것을 얘기할 때 원어민들이 자주 사용하거든요. 이것도 알아두시면 좋을 것 같네요.
I know firsthand that the rapid development of these technologies poses endless opportunities for innovation.
Several months ago, I came here to get a first-hand look at prototypes of the RoboMaster S1.
And this is proven from first-hand experience and from data.
I witnessed firsthand someone who had the most crushing work ethic that I've ever seen in my life. His dedication and his intelligence and his creativity all combined together, and then the hours and hours and hours that he put into it.
7 or 8 months into it, we had our first, you know, fully booked Saturday night. And I remember distinctly, you know, opening the paper, it was all handwritten in pencil. And I just remember looking at all the names down the list and going, wow. I felt like I made it from looking at that piece of paper. I still have that piece of paper. I'm gonna make you one of my favorite dishes, oysters and grits with bourbon brown butter. So, you know, like everyone knows shrimp and grits, but you know, back in the day, if you know, when shrimp was not that plentiful, like oysters would have been what you used.
다음은 과거를 회상할 때 원어민들이 정말 자주 쓰는 영어 표현 back in the day입니다. back in the day는 과거에, 옛날에, 예전에, 한참 전에 라는 의미인데요. 이 표현을 쓸 때는 주의하셔야 할 게 back in the day의 day를 복수형으로는 쓰지 않는다. 즉 back in the days 라고는 하지 않는다는 건데요. 그 이유는 days라고 이렇게 복수형으로 쓰게 되면요. 마치 특정한 몇몇 날들을 콕 집어서 이야기하는 것처럼 들리거든요. 그래서 문맥상 어색하고 문법적으로도 맞지 않습니다. 그래서 과거를 회상할 때는 back in the day라고 해야지 구체적인 어떤 날이나 날들을 지칭하는 게 아니라 훨씬 포괄적인 의미를 담게 된다는 것 명심하시면 좋을 것 같고요. 이 표현 진짜 정말 많이 쓰이니까 잘 알아두시면 좋을 것 같네요.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Way back in the day.
That was harder back in the day.
And look at the size of this SIM card. This is the original size SIM card back in the day.
It was at least back in the day. You kind of do everything.
Back in the day, I was into a lot of makeup.
You know, think about what we did back in the day when the internet happened. It's sort of like the browser was born on Windows, and it went beyond Windows.
You know, back in the day, if you know, when shrimp was not that plentiful, like oysters would have been what you used. So I'm gonna salt these steaks. One of the things that I always tell people, you go to a restaurant and your steak is amazing, and then you go home and your steak doesn't taste like anything. And they're like, why is that? I'm like, it's just salt. It's like we salt the shit out of things.
다음은 조금 캐주얼한 표현인데요. 근데 정말 많이 쓰여서 한번 소개를 해드리려고 합니다. 이 표현은 어떤 행동을 극대화해서 강조할 때 주로 쓰이거든요. 그래서 조금 전 예시에서 에드워드 셰프는 We salt the shit out of things 라고 했는데 소금을 그냥 미친 듯이 뿌려댄다. 뭐 그런 뉘앙스입니다. 이게 영화나 미드 같은 걸 보면 자주 들을 수 있거든요. 예를 들어서 You scared the shit out of me 라고 하면 야, 너 때문에 깜짝 놀랐잖아. 이런 말이 되거든요. 근데 이걸 실생활에서도 많이 씁니다. 근데 여기서 shit이 나는 좀 어감이 별로다 싶으신 분들은 shit 대신에 hell을 쓰셔도 되고요. 아니면 crap을 쓰셔도 같은 느낌을 내거든요. 그래서 you scared the shit out of me 대신에 you scared the hell out of me 라고 해도 되고요. 아니면 뭐 you scared the crap out of me 라고 해도 같은 느낌입니다.
It scared the shit out of me.
It did scare the shit out of me. It scares the shit out of me. I'm too old to jump off that bridge. Yeah. It scares the shit out of me.
When I was a kid, my father beat me to near death. I would come home from school and he would beat the shit out of me, really hardcore.
How would you fight a bear or a lion? Just play dead?
Play dead, yeah. Could you beat a kangaroo?
That joke?
A kangaroo.
Oh, yeah.
Kangaroo? I'd beat the shit out of kangaroo.
You reckon?
Yeah.
We salt the shit out of things. When it comes to creation and creativity and dialogue, it is not the voice of one person that is sort of dominating the entire crew. It's not a top-down.
다음 표현은 영어 회화에서 정말 유용하게 쓸 수 있는 표현 when it comes to입니다. 뭐에 관해서 말하자면 이라는 뜻인데 어떤 주제나 상황에 대해 말을 할 때 도입부에도 사용할 수 있고 아니면 문장 중간중간에 요긴하게 사용할 수 있거든요. 예를 들어 팀워크에서 소통이 핵심이다 라고 할 때는 When it comes to teamwork, communication is key 이렇게 말할 수 있겠고 이것 말고도 또 정말 다양하게 활용이 가능한 표현이니까요. 모르셨던 분들은 꼭 알아두시면 좋을 것 같네요.
Songwriting to this day is still my bread and butter when it comes to making my living.
And what's crazy is I'm literally still young and dumb and do stupid things when it comes to love.
I'm kind of obsessive when it comes to food and drink.
The most important thing for me when it comes to my fashion is that I'm super comfortable, so that usually means I'm wearing at least one really oversized piece.
When it comes to creation and creativity and dialogue, it is not the voice of one person that is sort of dominating the entire crew. The beauty of food is that you share it. There's nothing about food that I want to keep under lock and key.
다음은 the beauty of입니다. 어떤 것의 장점, 매력을 어필할 때 주로 사용되는 표현인데요. 예를 들어 혼자 여행하는 것의 장점이라고 하면 내가 원하는 곳은 어디든 갈 수 있다는 것이다. 이런 말을 할 때 The beauty of traveling alone is that you can go wherever you want. 이렇게 말할 수 있거든요. 이것도 자주 쓰이는 표현이니까요. 알아두시면 좋을 것 같네요.
I think that's the beauty of cinema, that it can make us see things that we don't normally see.
That is the beauty of having a career as an actor. You get to play different kinds of characters in different kinds of films.
That's the beauty of ideas, isn't it? That they can come very quietly. I think almost always, in my experience, the most powerful ideas do occur quietly and they are fragile.
The beauty of food is that you share it. At the end of the day, it's a plate of food. That plate of food, as beautiful and as delicious as it is, it's gone in a few minutes.
At the end of the day, 직역하면 하루가 끝나갈 때라는 뜻인데 이것도 앞에 설명드렸던 on top of the world와 유사하게요. 비유적인 표현으로 결국, 최종적으로 라는 뜻으로 사용됩니다. 이것도 은근히 많이 들을 수 있는 표현이거든요. 그래서 한번 소개해 드렸습니다.
at the end of the day.
I think at the end of the day, though, we're human. At the end of the day, you kind of want it to look really real.
That was a character where you want to leave it behind at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, I know myself better than most people ever will.
What you do isn't nearly as important as who you do it with. You know, at the end of the day, you could put in all the effort you want, but if you're not with the right partners, you're not going to reap the benefits of your hard work.
At the end of the day, it's a plate of food.
I do think there are foods that are universally great, right? And you know, maybe frog legs are an acquired taste.
다음은 acquired taste입니다. 직역하면 acquired는 습득한, 획득한이라는 의미고 taste는 맛 또는 취향. 그래서 본능적으로 누구나 좋아하는 것이 아니라 경험을 통해 획득되는 취향이라는 의미인데 한번 접하는 것만으로는 매력을 느끼기 힘들고 여러 번 접해야만 좋아할 만한 음식 등을 설명할 때 자주 쓰이는 표현입니다. 예를 들어 호불호가 강한 음식들이 이에 해당이 되겠고 그리고 비단 음식뿐만이 아니라 보면 볼수록 매력적인 것들 있죠. 우리가 볼매라고 하는 그런 것들을 설명할 때 사용할 수 있는 표현입니다.
It's an acquired taste.
Sonji. Sonji, okay. Sonji. It's not liver. All right.
I'm sure it's somewhat of an acquired taste. It's not bad. It's pretty good.
Maybe it's an acquired taste that we just haven't acquired in the UK.
Definitely have not acquired that, mate.
We don't have anything that tastes like this in the UK.
I don't like this, Adam. Is this an acquired taste?
Some of West's designs have been an acquired taste.
Night dive is an acquired taste.
You know, maybe frog legs are an acquired taste. Just the experience is just mind-blowing.
다음은 mind-blowing인데요. mind는 정신이고 blowing은 날려버리는 이란 뜻이잖아요. 그래서 너무나 놀랍고 충격적이라 머릿속을 날려버릴 정도로 강렬한 인상을 준다는 의미로 쓰이는 비유적인 표현인데요. 원어민들이 즐겨 쓰는 표현이니까 알아두시면 좋을 것 같네요.
It's mind-blowing in what he does.
It was just mind-blowing.
That is mind-blowing.
What? It's mind-blowing.
That picture is just completely mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. Just the experience is just mind-blowing. The more I started to investigate Southern food, the more I started to dig deeper into my history, what Korean food means to me. The more you cook, and the more you practice this art form, the better you get at it, and the more you start to trust your own palate.
오늘 마지막으로 소개해드릴 내용입니다. 바로 더 비교급인데요. 뭐뭐 하면 할수록 더 뭐뭐 하다는 의미로 우리가 익히 알고 있는 구문이죠. 아시다시피 근데 이게 생각보다 그렇게 단순하지가 않잖아요. 근데 에드워드 셰프의 경우에는 앞선 예시를 보시면 더 비교급 문장을 굉장히 길게 썼거든요. 근데 원어민이 아닌 경우에 이렇게 더 비교급 문장이 길어질 경우 실전에서 실수를 하게 될 확률이 높아지니까요. 그래서 저 같은 경우는 이 더 비교급을 쓸 때 최대한 단순하게 쓰려고 합니다. 그래서 가장 쉬운 건 그냥 주어 동사를 다 생략해 버리는 거예요. 예를 들어서 많으면 많을수록 더 좋다라고 할 때 the more the better 라고 하든지 아니면 빠르면 빠를수록 더 좋다 the faster the better 크면 클수록 더 힘들지 the bigger the harder 뭐 이런 식으로 그 의미가 명확한 경우에는 주어와 동사 없이 이렇게 간결하게 표현을 할 수 있고요. 아니면 여기서 조금 더 나아가서 더 비교급 주어 동사 더 비교급 주어 동사 이 형태로 쓸 수 있거든요. 이것도 예를 들어 보면 The more you practice, the better you become. 네가 연습을 더 하면 할수록 네 실력은 더 나아질 거야. 뭐 이렇게 쓰는 게 가장 실수도 줄일 수 있고 해서 저는 주로 이런 식으로 더 비교급을 쓰는데요. 근데 이거 말고도 아시다시피 이 더 비교급 구문에는 주의해야 할 사항들이 여러 있죠. 근데 그렇게 문장이 복잡해질수록 우리가 실수할 확률도 커지니까요. 그냥 앞서 제가 말씀드린 그런 간단한 구조 정도로만 알아두시고 이것만 잘 활용해도 충분할 것 같습니다.
Because I found like the more nervous you get, the funnier you are. And the more I did it, the more I loved it.
The more people are reading, the better.
The more you taste, the better you're gonna get.
The quicker it goes from the farm to the table, the more nutrients there is.
제가 지지난 영상에서는 안성재 셰프의 영어를 다뤄봤는데요. 그래서 영상을 만들려고 안성재 셰프의 영어 인터뷰 영상들을 많이 찾아봤거든요. 그러다 보니까 안성재 셰프가 더 비교급을 쓰는 부분이 나오더라고요. 근데 여기서 이 안성재 셰프님이 조금 실수를 하신 부분이 있었는데 마지막으로 그 부분 한번 보여드리고 오늘 영상 마치겠습니다.
Abalone taco is one of our signature dish. It's about the current of the water. Slower the current, softer the texture of abalone.
물살이 느릴수록 전복의 식감은 더 부드럽다라는 말을 slower the current, softer the texture of abalone라고 하셨거든요. 그런데 여기서 큰 실수를 하셨죠. 바로 더 비교급에서 더를 빠뜨리셨더라고요. 이 문장에 더를 넣어서 the slower the current, the softer the texture of abalone라고 하셨으면 이게 완벽한 문장이 되거든요. 그래서 보신 것처럼 이게 실전에서는 나도 모르게 이렇게 실수를 할 수가 있으니까요. 이 부분도 잘 유념하셔서 더 비교급에는 항상 더가 들어가야 한다. 그래서 더 비교급으로 부른다 라는 점도 한번 유념해 주시면 좋을 것 같네요. 네, 그래서 오늘 제가 준비한 내용은 여기까지고요. 영상을 만들다 보니까 너무 좋은 표현들이 많아서 욕심이 나더라고요. 그래서 표현들을 최대한 소개해 드리려고 하다 보니까 오늘 영상이 좀 길어진 것 같습니다. 여기까지 봐주신 분들께 감사하다는 말씀 드리고요. 오늘 제가 소개해드린 표현들 중에 좀 익숙치 않았던 표현이 있으셨다면 저희 스노우볼 영어 검색 엔진 사이트에 접속하셔서 검색해 보시고 원어민들이 이런 식으로 사용하는구나 보시다 보면 느낌이 오실 거예요. 그래서 그렇게 조금씩 영어 공부를 해 나가시면 분명히 영어 실력 향상에 도움이 될 거라 확신하니까요. 저희 스노우볼 사이트도 많이 이용해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 그럼 오늘 영상도 봐주셔서 감사드리고 저는 또 다음 영상에서 더 유익하고 재미있는 내용으로 찾아뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.